right, it looks like I have 12:02. I see we have a pretty good group in. I'm sure we'll get some more popping on as they finish their other calls. So I think we can go ahead and get started today. Welcome everyone to the June, if you can imagine it, June Healthy Eating Active Living Work Group. And as you're all popping on, please take the opportunity to introduce yourself, tell us your name, your organization, and in honor of healthy eating, your favorite summer produce. And you can put that in the chat, or if it's your first time joining, please feel free to introduce yourself to the group and pop out, or if you're just feeling like a little chat. And just so everyone knows, if anyone doesn't know me, my name's Kim Stinchcomb. I'm the manager of the Healthcare Action Coalition, and I'm with the health department. I think my favorite summer produce is the classic, the tomato. It's just best in the summer.
Great. I can go next, Kim, if that's okay. My name is Rimple Gabry. I am the Outreach Clinical Coordinator with Giant Pharmacy. It's a pleasure to be here today. I do a lot of outreach with vaccination clinics specifically, but also exploring into CPR classes now. My favorite produce for the summer is watermelon.
Thank you, Rimple, and thanks for joining today.
Of course, my pleasure.
Ooh, yes, peaches, good one, strawberry. Excellent. I'm getting hungry for lunch and excited about the summer.
This is Sharma Burso from Prince George's County Health Department, nutritionist. My favorite one is mangoes.
Another good one. Thanks, Sharma, for joining. Right, well, you all please continue to pop information in the chat. We'd love to make sure we all know who's on the call. And we have a pretty packed schedule today, so we can go ahead and pop in. We have some information about CPR and AED Awareness Week, and some programs that are available to get trained throughout the county. And then the majority of our meeting will be based on our Healthy Food Priority Areas 2024 updates and our map, which has been an ongoing process. And thank you all for your participation in that work. And then we'll end with any updates, community announcements, and we'll adjourn for the day. Just as a reminder, our vision for the HEAL work group is that Prince George's County is a place where everyone has access to fresh, nutritious food and environments that promote good health, wellness, and active living. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and call on our co-chair, Jessica Moyes, to take on talking to us about CPR Week.
Awesome. Thanks, Kat. I'm getting an echo. You guys hear echo? Okay, sounds better. Hey, Kim, quick question before I get started. I don't know if were we able to include that video that it was like a 2-minute or maybe 1-minute long YouTube video I've emailed you. We can play it at the end. Okay, perfect. Okay, we could just play it at the very end. Awesome. Well, thank you. As Kim said, I have the honor of serving as our co-chair for the HEAL committee. I also am the vice president for community impact for the American Heart Association. So I have the honor to talk about our CPR week, which is now. So CPR week is every year between June 1st and 7th. So but we always like to say CPR is year round because obviously it's not just this one week, but we like to draw special awareness around this time of year. And a lot of us are still, when we go out in the community, we talk about CPR awareness. We see that a lot of individuals who maybe do not live and breathe CPR, as many of us probably on this virtual webinar do, still think about it as breaths are needed in order to save a life. And one of the key focus areas is that we know that it's only hands only now. So yes, if you're doing the full-on CPR certification, that is still part of it, is learning the breaths, 2 breaths every 30 chest compressions. That is still part of the standardized CPR certification. But hands only CPR is all you need to save a life, and it is not a certification, is not needed for that. As soon as I'm done speaking in a minute or so, we're going to show a very quick video that will basically show you all the steps that you need in order to know what to do in order to save a life, and what to do as far as how many beats per minute, which is 100 beats per minute. So basically, why learn hands-only CPR? So just very quickly, cardiac arrest is an electronic malfunction, and when the heart has an irregular heartbeat, otherwise known as arrhythmia, and disrupts the flow of the blood flow to the brain, lungs, and other organs, and is the leading cause of death. So each year, more than 350,000 EMS assessed out-of-patient cardiac arrest occur in the United States. So basically, 350,000 people outside of the hospital settings are impacted by cardiac arrest every year. So it's up to everyday citizens such as us to step in and save a life. So when a person has a cardiac arrest, survival depends immediately receiving CPR from someone nearby. So Kim, can you actually go back real quick to the previous slide? So the first thing you want to do is call 911. So obviously, we're here to learn to know about chest compressions, 100 chest compressions. You want to keep going. But the first thing, before you even start figuring out like, why is this person in need of CPR? This person's on the ground. Before you even get to that, call 911. We always strive to, we rather err on the side of caution that person may, maybe that person doesn't need emergency response. Maybe that person is going to wake up in a couple minutes. Maybe they just were, they were out of breath. Who knows? But we rather err on the side of caution, have first responders arrive, let them do the assessment, than us try to diagnose them. So the first step is always, as soon as you see somebody who might be in need of CPR, call 911. Or if you're fortunate to have somebody else with you, if you're not by yourself, have somebody else call 911, and then while you obviously start the chest compression. So again, just want to make sure that that's always the first step in any type of emergency dealing with somebody who might be in need of CPR. Okay, sorry, you can go to the next slide. And so again, so just really quickly, over about 90% of people who suffer out of hospital cardiac arrest die. A lot of times that's just because people might be either unaware that just simple chest compressions can save a life. Some people are aware and they might be afraid. They're like, what if I do more harm than good? What if we say, people are like, how about if I break a rib? We're like, most likely you will break a rib, but break a couple ribs, that's not going to harm that person in the long term. Breaking a couple ribs is not going to hurt them. Ribs recover, they heal, suffering from cardiac arrest and nobody around to give chest compressions, you will not. So breaking ribs is perfectly fine. CPR, if performed immediately when you see somebody is incapacitated, can double or triple a cardiac arrest victim's chance of survival. If you are called on to give CPR in an emergency, you will be most likely trying to save the life of someone you love. It could be a child, it could be a spouse, a family, or a friend. It could be a coworker, it could be anybody. So it doesn't always necessarily have to be a stranger. Most likely it won't be a stranger, it'll be somebody you'll know. So knowing these steps can really save somebody you care about life. And then very quickly, just these two stats at the bottom before we go into the really quick video. Over 70% of out-of-hospital cardiac arrests happen in homes. So again, going back to the fact that most likely it is going to be somebody who that's life you're going to be saving. And only 40% of people who experience an out-of-hospital cardiac arrest receive the immediate help that they need before professional help arrives. So again, it's also that hesitancy that we're like, I don't know what I'm doing, or I'm scared that I might, cause more harm than good. Getting familiarized, learning. We have CPR anytime kits that are like, they're called like mini Annies. You know, I think they're about, I want to say the last time I checked, they're about $35 or $40. Those are the ones that help you kind of get used to doing those chest compressions, because the more practice you do, I know there's not the same thing as a person, but the more practice that you do, the better equipped you're going to be mentally and know exactly what to do if an emergency does arise. So practice always makes perfect. So, you know, and if you want to, we always, we always would, if you are able to take a certification course, absolutely, we definitely encourage that. But again, you don't need it to be certified in order to save a life. So Kim, I'm gonna turn it over to you if you don't mind showing the video real quick.
Sure. If everyone can give me this, sound with these videos can sometimes be tricky. If you give me a thumbs up, if everyone can hear it, okay?
If you see a teen or adult suddenly collapse, it is important to act fast. Helping to save a life is easier than you might think. Just start hands-only CPR. The first step is to ask someone to call 911 and to get an AED, or call 911 yourself and put your phone on speaker mode so the operator can assist you. Then get directly over the victim. Put the heel of one hand in the center of the chest and put your other hand on top of the first. Then push hard and fast in the center of the chest until help arrives. It's important to push, giving 100 to 120 compressions per minute, which is about the same tempo as the song Staying Alive, or the rate of music you're listening to right now. Let's hope you never have to use hands-only CPR. But know that CPR combined with using an AED provides the best chance of saving a life. If possible, use an AED every time you provide CPR. Again, if you see a teen or adult suddenly collapse, don't be afraid to start hands-only CPR. Remember, call 911 and ask someone to get an AED. Then push hard and fast in the center of the chest until the AED and help arrives. Your actions can help save a life.
Awesome. All right. Well, that is all I have. Obviously, if you want any additional resources, there is a link we can send out to you if you do want to get certified. But again, you don't have to be certified to save a life. As you saw, that video shows you kind of everything you need to know as far as how to save a life, chest compressions, 100 to 120 beats per minute. We have a whole list of different songs that have that rhythm, so you kind of get used to what that rhythm sounds like. And again, I cannot overstate the importance of practice, practice, practice. A lot of times when we just had our lawyers have heart events over at oh gosh, what was the park again? We had it a couple of weeks ago in May, where we over in Southwest DC, and we had like the actual mannequins that they use, that they're for the full-on certification mannequins, so the larger ones. And you do not realize how hard and fast you really have to press in order to really get the chest compressions. There's actually a light that indicates, like, it turns red to green, or yeah, red to green, to let you know that you are indeed pressing hard and fast enough. And it was a little bit difficult that day because we had to do it on the table because it was raining, so we really couldn't get on the floor. Ideally, you want to get on the floor because most likely that person will be on the floor. But anyways, it really, I could not just overstate how important it is for you just to get the rhythm, just knowing how hard it is and knowing how tiring it can be. Obviously, you may be by yourself, but if you are fortunate again to have somebody else with you, and you do have somebody who is experiencing a cardiac arrest, trading off, having one person do the chest compressions and then switching off as often as possible, because it can be very tiring. And again, as I said before, you do not want to go more than 10 seconds of rest without that person having those chest compressions before EMS is on the scene. So just wanted to say that. And yeah, thank you again for your time. And again, it's CPR week this week, so there should be a number of different probably opportunities throughout Prince George's County, through Prince George's County Fire and Rescue and different organizations to get certification and to probably just sit in on a freak demo class.
And that is a perfect segue. We actually have one of our partners, another partner, Giant Pharmacy, on to talk about their CPR certification program. So Rimple, I give you the floor.
Thank you so much, Kim, and thank you so much, Jessica, for that wonderful presentation. It was very, very knowledgeable, and it served it touched every point. I'm going to be very brief. I just want to talk about Giant offering CPR classes. Ours is certified, so if you are interested in taking those classes, they're certified. You do get a certificate at the end of the class. The unique thing about our CPR classes is that we come to you. So I know sometimes people who want to take the CPR class and they want to, they have to come to a site, they have to register. If you have a group of people that are interested in an organization that want to do it, but it's hard for you to come to us, we will come to you. We need a minimum of 6 participants to be able to come to the site. And we can do a maximum of 96 per class. So that's pretty unique, and I think that's pretty great that we are able to come to you. Our prices are also very, I think they're a little bit below the market price. We are at $69.99 per participant. And I know that there's a lot of classes out there that offer the same thing, but they're much higher. But yes, if you are interested in taking a certified CPR class, our classes are about 4 hours long. We have very well-trained pharmacists who teach the class. And also we do, the CPR class also does infant choking. So in case there is, God forbid, if there is an infant who chokes, there is training on that. We also show you how to use the AED, where to put the patches, how to use that in the class. So I think it's a really an effective class. It's a really important class. Like Kim and Jessica mentioned, that CPR is something that can save lives, and it happens more often than we think or realize. So if you are interested in booking a class, please reach out to me. My name is Rimple Gabry, and I can also give you my phone number. It is 240-353-7079. So you may reach out to me directly. You can text me, call me, and I can answer any other questions that you may have. That's all I have, Kim.
And thank you, Rimple. And I see one question in the chat. Is it a hands only or a heart saver course?
It's a hands-on CPR class. It's a heart saver in a sense that we do everything that is the basic life skills in a CPR class. So everything that is BLS and AED training, we do that in a class. And we also include infant choking, like I mentioned earlier.
Thank you so much. Okay. Well, I hope that everyone takes advantage of refreshing their memories on their CPR skills and get some practice in. We're going to go ahead and transition to a little bit of ways that we can encourage people to maintain their healthy lifestyle before unfortunate health outcomes. So I'm going to introduce Samantha Martocci. She was our public health intern throughout the spring at the health department and helped us work through the process of updating our healthy food priority areas map. So Sam, I will hand you the floor.
Thanks, Kim. Hi, everyone. I'm looking forward to taking you through sort of a little bit of background about this healthy food priority area map, the methods that were used for the second version, and then some of our findings. So for some background, the first version of this map was originally created in 2020. It's a GIS map, and it was a result of state and county legislation, and there was some interest from county leaders in creating this map. The coalition led this map development starting in 2018, but it wasn't fully realized until 2020. And then recently in 2024, the coalition decided to update this map as part of its commitment to promoting healthy eating and active living. So there are some legislative requirements in the county that must be considered in order to designate a healthy food priority area. So those factors include availability of fresh fruits, vegetables, and other healthy foods, income level, transportation needs, availability of public transportation, and then the healthy food priority areas must also include comments from municipal government and then additional considerations from local leaders. Next slide, please. And then just a little bit about the methods. So for the 2024 map, a healthy food priority area in Prince George's County is a census tract in which the ratio of healthy to unhealthy food retailers is less than or equal to 1 to 4. The median household income is below $70,649, which is the Maryland self-sufficiency standard for a family of 4. And over 6.5% of households have no vehicle available. So on the right-hand side, you can see this is the healthy food priority area map. This is just a screenshot of the GIS map. And the orange census tracts are those that are designated healthy food priority areas. So a little bit more about some of the measures that were used for availability of fresh and healthy foods. This was measured using the Retail Food Environment Index, and this essentially measures the percentage of food retail offerings in a census tract that are healthy and unhealthy. And the benefit of using this measure is that it incorporates both the number of healthy and unhealthy options, because both have been shown to affect dietary behaviors, particularly food swamps, which are areas with low availability of healthy options and a high number of unhealthy options. Those are good predictors of poor health outcomes. Next slide, please. So this is just how the RFEI is calculated. It's just a basic ratio and percentage. Oh, sorry, could you go back, Kim? Thanks, perfect. So healthy retailers were any retailers that are a grocery store, so a grocery store of any size, a seafood or meat and poultry market, within the census tract or half a mile from the census tract boundary. And then unhealthy retailers were chain convenience stores, carryouts, fast food chains, and dollar stores. And then within that same, within the census tract or half a mile from the boundary. And then the healthy food priority area designation is given if it meets the criteria for a food swamp, which is the RFEI less than or equal to 25. And the data came from the Health Department Food Service Facility database. Next slide. So on this slide, you can see the different way that a little more detail about how the retailers were classified. And just a note that anything that's not listed on this slide was not included in part of the designation. So you'll notice that restaurants were not included. And this was discussed, excuse me, in the group. Basically, the decision was made to exclude restaurants because there's so much variability and it's so difficult to characterize and verify the types of offerings that would be available at restaurants. So they were not included at this time. Additionally, other places like churches and after-school programs were excluded because they're not open to the general public or they're not open for food service on a regular basis. So like I mentioned earlier, independent convenience stores were designated as a healthy food service facility, and this was a result of the information received from the Healthy Corner Store Initiative individuals that were part of the group. So they found that independently owned convenience stores tended to offer some healthy proteins, grains, legumes, and frozen fruits and vegetables. So they did tend to have healthier offerings than, say, chain convenience stores, which tended to not vary too much from the corporate requirements for foods. Next slide, please. So income, this was measured using the median household income per the Maryland self-sufficiency standard. And this is a measure of the real cost of living from the Center for Women's Welfare at the University of Washington. And it's essentially the amount of income required for working families to meet the basic needs at a minimally adequate level for a family of 2 adults and 2 school-age children in the county. So after consulting that standard, the amount in Prince George's County is $70,649, and that data comes from the American Community Survey. So transportation needs were measured via low vehicle access. And low vehicle access is a census tract where the percentage of households with no access to a vehicle is above the median percentage across all census tracts in the county. And the median percentage was 6.5% per the American Community Survey. So next I'll get into some of the results from the 2024 map. So this is the map. We saw this image of the HFPAs earlier on, but there are 27 census tracts designated as healthy food priority areas. The median RFEI in the healthy food priority areas among the healthy food priority areas was 0. And that, just a reminder that the RFEI is the percentage of food retail offerings in a census tract that are healthy. So these are census tracts that have 0 healthy offerings. The median percentage of households without access to a vehicle in a healthy food priority area, the median percentage is 17.1%. And then the median income in healthy food priority areas was $59,909. So just some comparisons for the data found within the healthy food priority areas and then the county level data. So in healthy food priority areas, the RFEI ranged from 0 to 20 with a mean of 6.61, and the median, like I said earlier, was 0. And then the county median RFEI was 12.5. In terms of access to a vehicle in healthy food priority areas, the percentage of households ranged from 9.7% to 39%, and the median value in healthy food priority areas was 17.8% compared to, of course, the benchmark, which was 6.5% in the county. And then in terms of income, the range for income in the healthy food priority areas was $23,000 to about $70,000, with the median $59,000, about a little closer to $60,000. And then the county median income was $95,416. And then again, the Maryland self-sufficiency standard for 2 adults and 2 children was $70,649. So that was sort of the benchmark. And then just to compare how the 2024 map looks, how the methods are different compared to the 2020 map. So most of the process was very similar. You'll see that the ratio of healthy to unhealthy food retailers is the same. However, the 2024 map added independent convenience stores as a healthier option. And like I mentioned earlier, this was a result of the Healthy Corner Store initiative, the information we got from them about their offerings. The median household income obviously changed a bit between the 2020 and 2024 maps, and then the percentage of households with no vehicle available also changed from 5.2% to 6.5%. And then one final difference to note is that the 2020 map used the 2010 census tracts and the 2024 map used the 2020 census tracts. So there's some slight differences, which we'll get into in the next slide. So this is a visual comparison of the 2020 and 2024 healthy food priority areas. On the left is 2020, and in the blue-gray color, you can see those are the census tracts that were healthy food priority areas in 2020. And then again on the right is the 2024 census tracts in orange. So in 2020, there were 62 healthy food priority areas, and one was added due to municipal feedback, and that's the one all the way in the south of the county, highlighted in blue. And that was the feedback was essentially that these individuals face some different, thanks for circling that there, Kim. These individuals face additional barriers to obtaining healthy foods. In 2024, there were 27 healthy food priority areas, and 18 of those 27 were also designated healthy food priority areas in 2020. So there's some continuity between the time for those census tracts. If you look right outside Southeast DC is where you can see most of the reduction seems to be, so between the 2 years. 9 of the 2024 census tracts that were designated healthy food priority areas were not healthy food priority areas in 2020, but 6 of them, so 6 out of 9 were not census tracts in the 2020 version. So it's possible that they had been incorporated in different census tracts, essentially.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that last part about there were 9 new census tracts that were not in the 2020 map that are in the 2024, and the 6 that I guess were based on, is that driven by the change in census tract boundaries?
Yeah, so there were 9 that were not originally, that were not healthy food priority areas in 2020 that were in 2024, but 6 of those 9 were not census tracts in 2020. So it's possible that they were part of a healthy food priority area, but as part of a different census tract. It's just there's not a one-to-one mapping for those census tracts between the years.
Thank you.
Sure, good question. Okay, next slide, please. So this is just a comparison of some of the data between 2020 and 2024. The differences are not that great except for the number of census tracts that were designated as healthy food priority areas. And then just to note that the 2020 data does not include that one census tract that was added due to municipal feedback, because it was not added due to the healthy food priority area requirements. Those numbers would have kind of skewed the findings here. So things are mostly similar, except you'll note that the lower range for households without access to a vehicle increased, and then the household income, the lower end, decreased between the 2 years. Next slide, please. So in summary, largely the same process was used for 2020 or for 2024 as was used in 2020, except for the convenience store designation. So chain convenience stores were designated as unhealthy, and then the team went through the independently owned convenience stores and designated them as healthy retailers. There was a 56% decrease in the number of healthy food priority areas in the county between 2020 and 2024. And then, like I said earlier, 18 out of the 27 healthy food priority areas were also designated healthy food priority areas in 2020. And then the main reduction in healthy food priority areas was in that area sort of immediately outside of DC. I see there's a hand raised.
Hi, it's Nicole Hall from the Prince George's County EDC. So I use this map pretty regularly as I'm meeting with grocers, trying to attract them into the county, and we worked on getting legislation to enhance the healthy food priority area tax credit last year. That is now at 100% for both real and personal property taxes for grocers in the healthy food priority area. So I have this map bookmarked on my computer. One of the questions I have is that I definitely, as soon as I saw the map, I saw the vast difference in the number of census tracts. Do we know what is the key driver of that change? Because it is pretty drastic from an understanding the data is 10 years difference. So there has been a lot of changes in the landscape, but I wasn't sure there's any data to support for those roughly, I would say, was it 45? I'm not going to pretend to try to do math in my head without having lunch yet. but to account for what was the driver of those 56% decrease in those previous census tracts. So I think that data will be helpful, especially as we speak with community leaders and legislators who might be a bit shocked at the decrease in the census tracts in this program.
Yeah, that's a really great question. So I'll say personally, we have not been able yet to dive into the drivers really behind this decrease. Although I will just note that the data that's being used, the differences are between the years 2020 and 2024. It's just the census tract designations are from 2010 and 2020 respectively. So it could be due to various changes over the pandemic, but I'll defer to Kim on that if there's any, if she has any additional insights or any plans to look into some of the reasons.
Yeah, so I would say that's a huge part of our next steps is to get a better understanding. And even we kind of even talked about looking at, are they on the cusp of being part of it and just outside, or but we do need to take some time and get a better understanding, especially before we discuss it with county council and get a better idea of how we're going to implement this moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's a huge next step because I can just anticipate some of the questions that folks are going to have. Understanding we're talking about data that was 10 years old, and knowing the areas that, we haven't seen a big increase in the number of healthy food locations in the county. So from a data point, is it the income is a driver, which is a good thing, meaning the incomes have gone up in the area? Is it accessibility, as to the driver of it? So I think having that data start compiling that data will be helpful in having those pocket conversations, especially in those areas that are still food deserts, quite frankly, just because of the location and accessibility, and they still are probably, just like you said, on the cusp. The other piece would be the process for any of our council members to add a jurisdiction, because I know that will probably be the next step, understanding, especially for some of those areas right along the DC border. I wasn't sure if the previous 2020 census tract took into account any healthy food on the other side, on the DC line, or that's why I'm just trying to understand the key driver of that. If we're talking apples to apples outside of just the data, from a jurisdiction and geography standpoint. That was just my one question, because it is a big difference.
And we have Patrick on from OIT, who actually ran all of the data around the actual map itself, but we don't have the data around the food facilities in DC. So my understanding is those are not included at any level, but Patrick, please correct me if I'm off.
No, that's correct. We didn't in 2020 consider anything in the district or any of the surrounding jurisdictions. We just focused more on what we had for Prince George's County. Like Sam said, the food facility data came from the Prince George's County Health Department, from their inspector units, and we mapped those. So we weren't able to get surrounding jurisdiction food facilities. And I think some of the changes, you think about when we started this in 2020, we were just at the start of the pandemic, and a lot of restaurants went out and a lot of restaurants came in over those couple years, and I think that had some effect on it as well. And I think the change from 2010 to 2020 census tracts made a difference as well. I can't explain why it went from 62 to 27, but I think those were major factors.
Hey, Patrick, how you doing? It's good to hear
All
your
right.
voice again. One of the questions I had, I think Sam mentioned restaurants were not a data point previously. Were they a data point in 2020 and not a data point in 2024? I just want to confirm.
No, they're both data points. So I was able to geocode each one by their
Okay.
address in 2020 and 2024. You can see on the original healthy food priority areas, the points, you can turn on the point information for those. And you'll see in a minute the new one.
Okay, so restaurants were included. That's what I was. 'Cause I thought I
So,
heard they
oh,
weren't
no,
included.
no, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. No, they were not
Okay.
included. So we don't have the resources to go out to every restaurant and determine. We're having issues just trying to come up with a standard. Nobody in the country's really come up with a standard of what's a healthy restaurant. Is it something that serves 3 healthy meals
Sure,
or
sure.
30 healthy meals? So we really kind of push those aside, and I think we got a good representation, even though restaurants probably make up about
Hmm.
half of the data. It's still, I think, still a strong um, data set.
Okay. So the same data set, including restaurants, without understanding if they were a healthy food provider or salad, whatever it may be, if
Right.
they were denoted as a food full service, or we'll say just a restaurant, whether in 2020 or 2024, they were both part of that data set.
Correct.
Okay.
They're there, but they're not considered in developing the RFEI.
Okay, that's helpful.
Thank you for those questions. So that leads into some next steps and some additional considerations that the coalition's considering. So one is incorporating availability of public transportation. This is part of the state and county requirements. In the 2020 map, the decision was made to highlight all areas of the county within a quarter mile of a bus stop for a county operated bus line. And that was how public transportation was represented, but it hasn't been added to the 2024 map at this time. Another idea was to add in selected health outcomes like rates of diabetes, heart disease, and obesity. Adding in walking and biking trails to incorporate opportunities for active living in discussion with the Parks and Recreation. Adding in farmers markets and food pantries as other sites where people can access healthier foods. And then again, obtaining feedback from municipal leaders, like was done with the 2020 version of the map. At this time, the legislative process and the process for obtaining feedback from municipal leaders have yet to be determined. So that is TBD at this point. But that is all for me. I'll now hand it over to Patrick to do the demo of the actual map.
All right, I'm going to take over here. All right. So I wanted to start with where we started. So this is the original 2020 map that we did for healthy food priority areas. It's still available, should be accessible through the health department website. But it's the new site, which is this one, is very similar. And that was done on purpose to keep, the look and feel the same. Eventually, when we get this completed, you can see it's still in draft form. I will be moving everything to that original site, so that link, Nicole, won't change. It will always stay at that location. So I think that's part of the legislation, that we don't change the URL on that. So you can see we've updated the overview and history. The methodology and metrics have been updated with the 70,000 for the median income and the transportation information, and then how the categories were set up for the grocery stores. And then we've added on to just a map history, a short little history, because when we do update the old one's going to go away and we'll have the new information. So on the map itself, you can see the orange represents the healthy food priority areas. There are several layers that you can turn on, and one of them is the healthy food priority areas from 2020, so you can compare. The nice thing on this one is I can type in an address. And it will zoom down to that, and you can see if that address is in a healthy food priority area or not. This one happens to be. It pops up with some information. You can click on the census tract, and it will provide you the data that we derived to make this a healthy food priority area. You can see there household median income is 69,000. The percent without access to a vehicle is 19.6%, and then the RFEI was 0. So that qualified as a healthy food priority area. You can also see additionally the census tract and the population, and then what council district that's in. On the right side, you'll see we've got 3 tabs here. I've been having some issues with this, so I'm going to click it and let's see what it does. Oh, it's working. So it will, you can click on it. I got to turn them on first. And it will pan you over to that particular location. So you can see this is the facility and the location of it and what it was categorized. The other 2 represent the healthy and unhealthy. What we used to determine what was healthy and what was unhealthy. I'll turn the grocery stores off. So you could click on this convenience store and it'll take you over to where it's at. It's not drawing, but it should open. Well, it's not opening up, but I'm having some latency issues. But you should also be able to click on any of the points like I did with the census tract and find out exactly, the information on it. What the facility category is convenience store and whether it's a healthy or unhealthy. This happens to be unhealthy. So, and there's a list of what's being displayed right now. So it's a little more robust than the 2020 application. But I think our next steps are, like Kim said, we're going to have to, write up a justification why it went from 62 to 27. We've got all the data documented and can be provided, and make some additional changes to this. Once that gets done, then we will make the update to the original URL. So right now, this is still in draft. It's not publicly available now. So are there any questions?
When will the official updates go into effect because there's legislation attached to it? Does it have to go through any approvals, or because the methodology is tied to the legislative process, does it automatically get updated once it's released?
So Kim, correct me if I'm wrong. I thought with the 2020 legislation, it says that it allows for any changes to be added without having to be legislated. So I believe we've gone back and forth, but I think we finally did come down to that we can make changes without having to send it back to council to get it legislated, but it's something we still do want to take to the council and show what changes have occurred.
Yeah, I would definitely support all of that. I think we want to maintain that engagement and ownership from county council as well, and just have that great understanding. And if Bridget, if you have any additional insight, not to call you out on the process, please let us know.
Patrick is right that the URL remains the same. And I was actually just typing a note that although you probably want to do outreach to council members, formally a letter from the county executive to the chair might cover us.
Any other questions? All right, well, thanks. I'll turn it back to you, Kim.
Thank you so much. We're just really happy to see the movement for the updates to the map to be reflective of current data, so that can be utilized. And thank you, Nicole, especially for keeping that bookmarked and keeping that at the top of your resources. I'm just going to pull up our slides. Okay, so with that, we just want to open the floor up to any additional community announcements. But I do have one to share from our partners at Suburban Hospital, that the 20th Annual Men's Health Symposium is coming up on next Tuesday, June 11th, from 1 to 2. So we have registration information that we'll send out with our notes, but we, of course, encourage everyone to attend if they can. And then more aligned with the coalition, our quarterly meeting is next Tuesday as well, from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. And it'll be in person at the Parks and Recreation Administration Building. So we would love everyone to join us. Please make sure you register so that we can account for your meal. And I can add that link. Taylor, if you have the link available, thank you so much. Please register. We would love to see you all. The health officer will be there to talk a little bit about strategic planning and the next steps for the health department. But then we also want to do a little bit of open discussion around our goals for community engagement at the county, our goals for new partners, and who we need to bring into our process when we think about our community health assessment. Because of course, as a cycle, we'll continue to do those community health assessments, and then any data that we need to consider. So we're excited for this to be a really interactive meeting, and an opportunity to meet our other partners in the county and have those discussions and just provide feedback. So we'd love to see you there. And then I'll open up the floor. If anyone has any additional community announcements that they'd like to share, now is your time. And if we don't have any announcements, our next HEAL meeting is August 7th. Same time, same place. All right, going once. Any closing remarks from our co-chairs?
Nope, I'm sorry.
We just,
I was like, oh,
go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead.
oh, no. I was just going to say thanks for everybody, and just to highlight again, remember CPR week, and thanks again. I don't know if John is still on the if he's still on the line, but definitely just want to encourage everybody again to learn more about CPR, and to get, if you not to get hands-only CPR experience, whether it's for your friends and family, anytime the month of June, and to get and just to get go out and get a demo done. That's it. But thanks.
Just to share, right now we are gearing up for summer operations within the Department of Parks and Recreation. So we probably have about 300 people that are getting recertified for CPR first aid. That's one of our requirements, is to have at least 2 people at each campsite or playground. So thank you for the resources, but we also have a major commitment towards ensuring that our staff are properly trained. And then we just wrapped up, May is National Health and Fitness Month, and we had over 100 different free opportunities for everyone to participate. I know they had a brief debriefing, but I'm waiting on the final surveys from those activities throughout the month of May. We do send that out in our health and fitness, health and wellness newsletter, and Kim, I'll send you the latest if you're not already on the mailing list.
Thank you very much. All right, everyone. We see some extra events coming up that are posted in the chat. We'll be sure to pull those into our meeting notes as well, in case, unless anyone wants to pop on and talk. We've got 3 minutes.
Hi,
and our
I'm
pools-
Sherma. I just want to, and it's probably on your screen already. We have a Dine, Learn, and Move every fourth Wednesday of the month from Prince George's County Health Department. It's partnered with Suburban and with Parks and Rec.
And then Suburban with the Heart Association is co-sponsoring the annual Men's Health Symposium. It's our 20th year hosting this event. This year is focused on heart health. So you'll hear even more about the importance of knowing CPR, having a primary care provider. And you'll hear this from a survivor who had an event. He was younger than 50 this year. And he is with us and very excited to share his story with a cardiologist from Suburban Hospital, Johns Hopkins Heart Care, and Amory, the president, Amory Judadine from our local heart association. So please sign up,
thank you so much
share.
for remembering.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for reminding me. And please don't tell Roxanne I forgot to
No,
highlight
it's
that.
all
So,
good.
yes,
We're all juggling so many
gonna-
things.
I'm going to echo that from AHA as a co-chair of the Hill. Yes, please, everybody. Kate sent the link in the chat, and Kim, I know you said you would, but yeah, if you could please just send out to the group and everyone, please join us on that to highlight that and to take part in the symposium. And Anthony, I'm going to chat with you later because I would love to hear a little bit more about what Parks and Rec, because I want to know if you guys have a cardiac response plan as part of your emergency response plan for Parks and Rec, but we can talk about that. I'll talk about that with you next week offline, because that's something else that we do with the American Heart Association. Because one thing I will say right before we end is a lot of organizations have an emergency response plan, but what we are learning is a lot do not have what we call a CERP, which stands for Cardiac Emergency Response Plan, because there is just either they don't have it or it's a little bit outdated. So we're working with a lot of organizations to making sure the language is up to date. So just wanted to put that out there. Kim, I may send some information about that to include to see if there's any organizations that would be interested in working with that as well with us.
Yeah, we would definitely be open to it. Just for full transparency, our aquatics programs, the athletic and aquatic facilities division has a pretty robust program in place, but the rest of the department, I'd have to follow up. We do have emergency plans in place, but maybe not specific to cardiac emergencies.
Thank you. And Jessica, I would also be interested in connecting you with the Office of Emergency Management if you're not already in touch with them, to see how they could help spread that out to other agencies throughout the county.
We are not. Let me talk to I don't think so. My director is heading that up, but I don't think Lucia is. So absolutely. I'm going to just go ahead and say she's not. And yeah, I'll get that information over to you.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining today. This was a great conversation, and I really appreciate everyone's work towards this effort and the map and everything else that you're doing. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Kim.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Thanks, Jessica. Patrick.
Thank you.
Thanks.